Hey everyone, welcome back to Gacha Interact. In today's interesting video, to say the least, we're going to be talking about this article and going through this. Maybe some of you guys have heard about this, but a judge in California did side with Hoyoverse in making Twitter or X to reveal a leaker's identity or identities potentially. So let's just kind of go through this and jumping right in because this is very interesting and has some things to think about at the very least. So I wanted to look at that today, or we wanted to look at that today. So jumping right in, it says that X Twitter will have to comply with a subpoena regarding the identities of several Genshin Impact leaker accounts after a federal judge ruled against the social media platform's attempt to throw it out. The news comes from the Torrent Freak and Stephen Totilo's Game File newsletter, which Stephen Totilo is basically just a video game reporter who works with Game File, and so this is kind of his just job, and so he was reporting on this stuff. He was detailing the latest in MiHoYo's crackdown on leakers. Cognosphere, the MiHoYo-owned publisher of Genshin Impact, filed the subpoena last fall, attempting to force X Corporation to disclose the identity, including the names, addresses, telephone numbers, and email addresses behind four popular leaker accounts: Hutao Lover, another Hutao Lover, and Farina Lover, right? You can see those accounts right there. So, and then right under that, we see Stephen Totilo's Twitter post, actually, where he's talking about this. He says a court has ruled that X Twitter must comply with the subpoena issued last fall to unmask the identities of these accounts, like I was just stating. So basically, Twitter had raised the First Amendment in talking about this, trying to quash this subpoena, to kind of talk about the rights of the freedom of speech, just to see, how the U.S. courts would see that in California. And then the right of privacy concerns, right? And so that's kind of what they use to bring up. And so looking at the actual legal document right there in the white, you can see that that's the United States District Court, Northern District of California, San Francisco Division. You can see how it says, now before this court is a discovery dispute regarding a subpoena issued under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or the DMCA, that we all love and adore, right? By Movement Cognosphere, right? That is the Hoyoverse, basically, right? To respondent X or Twitter seeking information about the identities of the persons responsible for four anonymous accounts due to alleged copyright infringement by those accounts because of the leaks. And that is basically what we're looking at today. The court finds this matter suitable for determination without oral argument based on previous courts based in Maximize Living versus Google in 2011. And then, after carefully considering the initial petition and subsequent letter briefs related to the case, the court denies X or Twitter's request to quash the subpoena. And this isn't by any means a massive drama thing. It's just kind of coverage of like what's going on with this if you are interested about it, because it is very interesting to say the least. And so, continuing on the article, we see under that, as Totilo notes, 3 of the accounts are currently suspended. The only one that isn't, which is the Farina Lover, has deleted all but one of the posts on their Twitter account. And according to Torrent Freak's report, Cognosphere believes that one person controlled all 4 leaker accounts, which is valid, I guess, right? Because they did all have, a lot of those had similar names even. In filing the subpoena, Cognosphere argued that the leakers had infringed on its copyright in the publishing of previously unreleased material. Twitter, however, attempted to quash the subpoena on the First Amendment, like I mentioned, and privacy grounds, asking the court in a previous filing if Cognosphere's request was sufficient to satisfy any First Amendment free speech safeguards applicable to the anonymous speakers. Twitter asked for a legal process that would ensure the leakers' First Amendment and privacy rights were not being infringed upon, maintaining that a court needs to decide these issues. U.S. Magistrate Judge Peter Kang, however, ruled for the Northern District of California that X Twitter must comply with Cognosphere's request, saying that there is no First Amendment right to commit copyright infringement. And then, so that conclusion that's being made here by the court, that's kind of what I wanted to, or we wanted to talk about and kind of see our opinion on this. And so, Vixen, I guess I'll just ask you first, what is your initial impression when kind of reading or hearing that?
Well, when you actually, because Rift had sent this to me earlier today, and I took a look in it, and it was actually a little bit interesting because when I first read through it, it threw me off a little bit. Me and Rift, through different ways and versions, have a little bit of a legal background, but in a version of this, at first, it really didn't make sense, and there's jargon that you could definitely get into as to why, but
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think overall, as content creators, as people in the sphere already know, if you're making content like leaking information that is specifically not supposed to be brought out. It's literally what leaks are, is that you're not supposed to be putting out that content. You come with a very high risk of your account getting shut down, them taking the emails on those accounts, those X or Twitter accounts, and trying to connect those to Genshin accounts and then delete those Genshin accounts or block them or ban them, whatever. They have all the ability to do so because Genshin actually talks about that in their TOS or their terms of service. So, in a very basic sense, as a person looking at this, Genshin's not wrong in anything they're doing. These guys or girls or whatever, they ran the risk of putting up the front of giving people this information. Will this stop people doing this in the future? Probably not. Is this a tactic to probably just try to get a few of the big people to try to silence the rest? Possibly. At the end of the day, I think that it's mainly focusing on making sure that these people, at the end of the day, as a Genshin content creator, as a Genshin player, you can't really be too mad at Genshin for this. It's sad, I guess, that it happened because maybe leaks might be a little bit more stringent in the future, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really change too much because these guys kind of not necessarily asked for it, but they ran the risk and they knew the risk as well when they were doing it. So I don't know, Rift, how are you kind of taking this as well?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we see there in that second to last paragraph where I kind of stopped, right? Where there is no First Amendment right to commit copyright infringement. And I think that's the main thing. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people might argue that, well, the First Amendment and the whole freedom of speech, they should, we people should be able to talk about that stuff and have an opinion. And I think there is a small element of that for sure, but there also is the point, right? Where there is copyright infringement. If MiHoYo or Hoyoverse doesn't want that, doesn't want the content being leaked. I mean, there even have been things in the past that some of you might have heard about where during some of Fontaine's stuff early on, there were even like uh, company workers for Hoyoverse that were leaking things or whatever that was going on, and people were fired for it or whatever. I didn't really like look into that. I just know I heard stuff about that going on. So it is a sensitive topic. And is anyone doing anything evil here? No. Genshin is just trying to make sure they can mitigate the leaking, the speculations, and all that kind of stuff, just to keep their brand safe. If too many things get leaked, it's a brand risk because, you know, how do they make money? It's the gotcha system. If all this stuff is being leaked, it's helping people kind of plan more, which is exactly what they don't really want as much. It's not like a deceitful thing, but like that's how a gotcha works. You use the FOMO tactic, right? You have these time limits on banners to create the, oh, should I pull? Because if banners just existed, like if all the banners were just there and you just like you can pick and choose, it's like, okay, I have all the time in the world to actually get the characters I want. But by creating this FOMO thing, I guarantee you, most of you, maybe not all of you, but and maybe not even most of you, but a good majority of you guys, if you're like me, you could actually pull up your character archive, and if you could like put away all of your 5 stars, if you could just put up 15 5 stars and have 15 tokens for it as a refund, and then just pick from the entire character archive any 15 that exist already, there might be several differences. And then you'd be like, oh yeah, I guess I would actually put my Shanyun up and take this Chiori, or maybe not that, but like something, right? There could be a difference. Now that may not be all of you, right? Because a lot of you actually have control and know, and go for exactly what you want and hold back on other banners, unlike me, right? But that's part of the FOMO tactic if you think about it. You start to snap on certain things maybe, or you end up, well, maybe I do want this, or because of a time limit, it kind of just forces you into a decision that maybe down the road you don't want. And so why do I bring that up? It's part of how they make their revenue. And so along with that, if stuff is getting leaked more than they want, it can affect the sale a little bit for where they want to go. Once again, no one's doing anything evil here. And if anything, I would say that Hoyoverse here does have a right to that because it is copyright. If they don't want their content, the stuff they have designed and produced and made to be out there, then they can hold that back. That is their stuff. And so who are we to be taking away from that? And if that's what they want. So I don't think anyone's doing anything wrong here. Just because it's in a court case doesn't mean there's the fight between good and evil, right? And it's not like we have to come to a verdict here. It's like, or Tris Mechanique d'Analyse Cardinal, I silence you, and the Archon is now being put to death, all right? This isn't crazy or anything. But it is just something interesting we wanted to talk about, and just something to think about, I guess. So that's just kind of our thoughts, at least my thoughts. Vixen, I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, I think, like you said, at the end of the day, it's completely within their rights to do as they please with the content they've produced. We've actually had a few of our thumbnails, actually, we've created get used on other channels. But personally,
Yeah.
number one, we're not big enough. Number two, it's a thumbnail. And it really doesn't matter. Like, we hate it when it happens to us. For instance, this whole strike thing that can happen with channels. So I mean, it comes up to the person on
Yeah.
when they want to actually do this. And this could have been something that Genshin at some point in time maybe didn't want to do. They felt that actually the leakers and all this stuff actually created hype for these new characters and maybe
Mm-hmm.
sold the
For
characters.
sure.
I mean, Genshin has
For
always hit
sure.
new heights with these new characters. So you almost borderline ask yourself, is the leaking really an issue if you guys are making these crazy
Mm-hmm.
numbers anyways? Because
Yeah, and I
maybe
think.
those, okay characters that you don't know are okay because leaks aren't out, maybe get a little bit more revenue. But maybe people just wait until YouTube videos come out of the actual character releasing. But what about
Mm-hmm.
those, amazing SS tier characters? Those are the ones with the highest sales and everybody feels like they have to get. So in a way, it helps and hurts. So maybe Hoyo at one point was saying, well, we don't want to do this, but because it actually helps us. And maybe they got to a point where they're like, at this point, it's just there is no like, a little bit of, taking pieces here and there from our stuff. It's just straight up just like everything like the floods are let loose. Maybe they were okay with a few cracks loose, but maybe now it's just like there's way too
Mm-hmm.
much going out and it's actually hurting us rather than helping us. But either way, I
And I
think
think
as
to the.
Genshin players and content creators, I really don't think that I don't feel bad for these people, but I
Yeah.
also don't feel any anger either towards Hoyoverse, nor do I feel any happiness towards Hoyoverse. So it's just kind of like it happens. It was eventually gonna happen probably, so it is what it is.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, I think to the point of that, several months ago, it was around the time of Acheron and Star Rail 2, whatever time that was for Genshin as well, lining that up, that they created the creators experience server or whatever it's called, right, where they want to still have sponsored creators to actually show content early, and so you can see how they, okay, well, let's have these sponsored people show stuff and do all that. And that was a whole issue when that started because people started to get like, oh, can we trust that? All the blah, blah, blah. Y'all remember that stuff. And so I think it's that, trying to mitigate with sponsored creators versus getting rid of these just random leakers that we don't even know. And so that's kind of where we're at with it. So.
Well, I think that's everything we've got talking about this. If you guys have any thoughts, please go ahead and let us know down in the comments. If you guys have any other further information that's going to come out in the next few days, this is all that we have to really offer in a very professional sense of what we've found. So if you guys find anything interesting that comes out in the next few days, any actual hearings of stuff like that that's actually going to happen over time, whether this is going to mess with other things, go ahead and let us know down in the comments as well so you can help out other people for more information. Once again, thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, please go ahead and like and subscribe, as well as check out our Discord as well. Thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.